share title, Right Culture for ESG Environment. If you look at Internaga, for example, now we are just embarked in what we call high performance culture. Yeah. So if to everyone from Tenaga, yeah, you can also look at what we are going to share today with regards on high performance culture that we may apply in Tenaga, yeah. And you know very well that why we need this high performance culture in the first place is because we are going through a lot of VUCA, yeah, Mat? Yeah.
Ya,
What is
betul.
VUCA? Is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity in our business, yeah. So I must say here, if we put our so-called our situation, we focus in our current situation, I would like to start this so-called sharing, yeah, with a statement. I would like to say that ESG basically is one of the major disruption in VUCA world. Yeah, this is something that happened to us. Yeah, and based on the situation, yeah, I remember what Roberto, our guest speaker uh, in our in our sharing yesterday in ICLAD, yeah, he mentioned that you like it or not, whatever business that we are in, yeah, we are going through, are we facing the so-called six particular, uh, what you call these parameters, yeah, or elements, yeah, which really affect our business, yeah. He mentioned about megatrend and disruption, with impact on from investors, employees, customers, regulators, and NGOs. So this is something that very serious, yeah. And obviously, if we want to survive in the coming years, yeah, definitely we have to do something. And and it all started with having the right culture. So based on this situation, one of the what I call complication that we may face now, yeah, is how to drive our people so they are willing to subscribe and support ESG. Yeah, this is something very, very what I call important. Yeah, if we are not able to what we call address this so-called complication, one of the impact that we're going to face basically is failing to subscribe to ESG, and hence our business will suffer. So just think a moment, yeah. This is the scenario that whether we aware or not aware, this is something that we go through, yeah. So having said all this, yeah. So so what will be our offer here, or what will be our proposal here in order to address the so-called impact? This is what we mentioned earlier, yeah. What we mentioned here is that we need to have the right culture. So cakap senang lah Mak, yeah. But then again, in order to do this is something else, yeah. So many people been talking about this matter, yeah, to having the right culture, high performance culture, and whatnot, yeah. But the question is how. So this is what we're going to share today, based on our experience in ILSAS, yeah, how we has helped, how we have helped, yeah, certain department, yeah, in Tenaga, in order to what we call to create the so-called right culture, yeah. So having said this, yeah, to start the so-called this discussion, I would like to share with you guys about the so-called organization inner ecosystem in order for us to realize our so-called purpose, aspiration, and goal. And obviously, when we talk about purpose, aspiration, and goal, yeah, in Tenaga alone, yeah, we can see that all this have been geared up towards ESG. Yeah, this is something that happening now. Yeah, and obviously, in order to what we call this to spearhead this so-called purpose, aspiration, goal, we need the leader to be the sponsor. That goes without saying, yeah. And the leader, when it comes to what we call this, to spearhead all this purpose, aspiration, and goal, they need to focus on two things: strategy and culture. Yeah. So, what happened now? If we look at our current scenario, uh, we can see that when we do what we call strategy transformation or culture transformation, we tend to do it in silo. In other words, both the strategy and culture are not so-called complement each other, or they are not talking to each other, quote unquote, yeah, so that that will drive the execution in order to achieve our expected performance. What I would like to say here, one major statement here that I want to state here, basically is that from now on, we are serious about execution. Culture and strategy must what we call complementing each other. Without that, I think it's very difficult. Yeah. So if I'm not careful, uh, uh, what I can say here, in a nutshell, culture basically is an enabler for us to execute the strategy. If we're not careful, we don't want to be what Peter Drucker has to say about this when he said that culture is strategy for breakfast. Yeah. So, so I already set the so-called the platform, yeah, for us to look this culture seriously. Yeah. So when we talk about this so-called matter, definitely we get to start with a question, and the question is how to create the desired culture. Yeah. So many people have been talking about it. Yeah. And but then again, where are we with regards to this? Yeah, this is not to blame any party or whatever, but it's for us to reflect and see what we need to do in this coming so-called in the coming years. Yeah. So having said that, this program would like to state that if we are interested to create what we call the so-called desired culture, we have to start with the mindset. Yeah. And simply put, mindset influence culture. So, having said this, obviously, the next thing that we need to be clear is what basically is mindset. Yeah. Okay, Mark, what do you see here?
Wow, this I see
Uh,
picture, uh,
what do
a
you see here?
picture of a lady and a old man. Yeah,
Hmm.
wow, two things in one picture.
Who's right? Who's wrong?
No one's right, no one's wrong. I saw the lady's face from the side.
Okay, good.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah. But you also can see the old man, right? He's sleeping there, I guess.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. I would like to say here to define mindset basically is a fixed mental attitude or disposition that predetermines a person's responses to an interpretation of situation. Yeah. And this also sometimes people call it as a mentality, way of thinking, outlook, worldview, or perspective. But the question is why mindset is so important, yeah? Well, according to some studies, yeah, they said that research shows that mindsets play a significant role in determining culture and life outcome. Just think about it for a while, yeah? And by understanding, adapting, and shifting your mindset, you can improve your health, decrease your stress, and become more resilient to life challenges. So basically, when we talk about this so-called statement, yeah, basically this is what we want to do, yeah, so that at the end of the day, we have an idea how to influence the mindset. And as what they said, if we hold that mindset long enough, it will become our norms. And when it becomes our norm among, let's say, group of people, that will create what we call the culture, yeah, the desired culture. That is the so-called the theory, yeah. So for that matter, in this program, we would like to share some of our experience in ISAS, how we influence all this, how to influence the mindset, and sooner or later, it will create the desired culture, yeah. First, for that, I would like to introduce a program that we developed in ILSAS, yeah, titled Culture of Champions, yeah. And I must say at this point of time, Culture of Champions, or in short form, COC, yeah, focus on developing the right mindset. Cakap senang lah, Mak, yeah. But then again, how to do this? Well, I must say it's not easy, but it's possible, yeah, because we have experience on this matter for quite a number of business unit in Tenaga, and I can see it shows a positive result, yeah. So, in a nutshell, I would like to say culture of champions deliver the right mindset. And when we hold that mindset long enough, it will create what we call the desired culture. Yeah. So from our study, we have identified three elements, which I would like to call it a little secret, yeah, that to ensure so-called we develop this mindset. Yeah. What we have figured out from those so-called experience when we deliver this program, yeah, what we need here basically is a specific focus on the context. What do you mean by this statement? I will mention you later. Yeah. And second will be whatever our intervention must be specific. And last but not least, there must be high dose of authentic conversation, a heart-to-heart kind of conversation. Yeah. So in order to ensure we focus the context, that's why we have assignment in this program. Yeah. I'll explain that later. And then when we talk about specific, we are talking about leveraging certain tools, yeah, specific tools, yeah, in order to implement the assignment, yeah. And last but not least, when it comes to authentic conversation, we're going to give what we call coaching and sharing lots of stories. So by having these three so-called elements in the so-called in the intervention, it will create what we call the desired so-called result. In other words, the right mindset, yeah, which when we repeat it long enough, it becomes the so-called culture. So when we talk about culture of champions, or or COC, yeah, we are basically going through a journey. So we are talking about a journey about 16 weeks, yeah, from start to finish. It will take about 16 weeks, about 4 months, and I believe many of you already, many of us will start wonder why too long, why so long. We think that we have the time to go through this. Let me explain it later on, and you can see the wisdom behind it. Yeah. So when we talk about this program, Culture of Champions, yeah, basically what we have in this so-called program is what we implement a 70-20-10 learning methodology. Yeah. Let me explain what is 70-20-10. Yeah. In this Culture of Champion, we start the program by sharing knowledge. Yeah, sharing the idea through the webinar or seminar. This basically comprises 10% of the entire intervention. After attending the webinar and seminar, the participant, we give them, let's say, about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, yeah, for them to leverage the idea in the program to what they call specific, so-called their project or their initiative in their current work. It must be something that they are doing currently. Must not be something what we call hypothetical projects or whatever. It must be something being measured in their work. Yeah, and that comprises 70% of the entire resources, and definitely, yeah, in trying to leveraging the idea into their projects or their assignment, they may face some kind of problem or difficulty. That's why they need help, and for that, we'll give them coaching, yeah, which comprises the 20% of the entire 100% in order to what we call help these people or participants to overcome any challenges. Yeah. So by having the 70-20-10 approach here, basically, as I mentioned earlier just now, when we talk about what is the little secret, the little ingredient that make this thing successful. First, we need what we call assignment. You can see here, the 70% is assignment. Then we talk about we need to use a tool. I must say, throughout this program, we can look at in the webinar seminar, we emphasize on tools because that will make it things specific. And last but not least, as you can see, the element number 3, yeah, the little secret is what we call we need to involve a lot of conversation through coaching or stories. Yeah, this is where the 20% come into mind. By having these so-called elements in the entire journey, yeah, it will ensure we can turn knowledge into skill. Through Culture of Champion, we promise the customer or the participant, you are not here only to gain knowledge. You are here to gain skill. That is the beauty of this so-called program if you go through the 70-20-10. Next, what I will do, yeah, I will share specifically, yeah, in detail, what is the modus operandi in each 10, 70, 20, and 10.